In the dead of night, silence shattered. A little orphan was chased out of her father's mansion by two strangers in black hoodies, gripping loaded guns. She ran, barefoot, breathless, heart pounding, her tiny legs no match for the fear pumping through her veins. But when she turned back, her world was already gone. Her father's mansion, engulfed in flames. That was the night she lost everything. Her family, her home, her identity. And that was the night her 3-month journey began. A journey filled with betrayal, cruelty, abandonment, and a twist so shocking it will leave you speechless. Who were the hooded figures? Who set the house on fire? And what did they really want from a little girl? So sit down, subscribe, and get ready to watch a tale that will leave you asking so many questions. Because this is not just a story, it's a storm. The full story begins now. Geraldine was just 8 years old when her perfect little world shattered like a broken glass. It happened in the middle of the night, when the moon was shining too bright for comfort, and silence had taken over the mansion like an unwanted guest. Geraldine, the only child of Richard Coleman, one of the richest men in the city, was sound asleep in her royal pink bed, snuggled in soft, fluffy blankets. Life was good. Too good, maybe. But suddenly, her stomach made a strange noise. The kind that said, "Run now or face the consequences." She jumped out of bed, tiptoed to the toilet like a little ninja, and sat down for what she called her midnight poop and play session. This was her private time, her poop on the throne while playing games on her phone, like the spoiled little princess she was. As she swiped her screen, trying to score a goal in her favorite soccer game, she heard voices. Low murmurs at first, then louder, then arguments, serious ones. Oh, great, she rolled her eyes. Another boring business meeting. Can't they whisper like normal rich people? She kept playing, her eyes locked on the screen, her fingers tapping like she was about to win a trophy. Then ping, ping, ping. Messages popped up on her screen. Lots of them. Something didn't feel right. Still, she whispered to herself, let me just score one more goal, then I'll deal with all the drama. But when she finally checked the messages, the smile on her face froze. Her fingers dropped. Her heart skipped like a broken record. Each message was worse than the last. She blinked. Once, twice, again, hoping it was all just a bad joke. Maybe Daddy was pranking her. Maybe Mommy was recording this for one of those weird social media videos. But no, the messages were real. Her chest tightened. Her legs felt weak. She couldn't scream. She couldn't call out. Something told her it wasn't safe. So she stayed there, quiet, frozen, barefoot on the cold bathroom floor, tears sliding silently down her soft cheeks. The kind of tears that didn't make noise but screamed louder than any voice ever could. In that moment, Geraldine knew something terrible had happened. Her world had just been turned upside down, and she didn't even know why yet. A few minutes after, she heard footsteps, not the soft kind like Mommy in her bedroom slippers. These ones were heavy, fast, and sharp, like the floor had done something wrong and they were stepping on it for revenge. Then came the voices, not her parents, not the maids, not even the security men who usually pretended to be invisible. Strange voices, cold, heartless. They opened her bedroom door, just like that. No knocking, no manners. And then she heard it. She's not here. Another voice, deeper and sharper, added, she's just a little girl. Let's go. Let's forget her. She can't be our headache. Never. Then silence, as if even the air was holding its breath. Geraldine sat there on the toilet lid, shaking like a leaf in a storm, her fingers gripping the phone like it could suddenly grow arms and save her. But she didn't move. Not yet. She waited. 5 minutes. 10. Maybe 20. Time felt like it stopped to watch her suffer. When everything was quiet, too quiet, she slowly opened the bathroom door. Her feet were bare. Her heartbeat was loud, louder than her footsteps. She tiptoed into her room, grabbed a brown envelope hidden under her mattress. She didn't check her parents' room. She didn't peek into Daddy's study, even though it was always filled with secrets and loud arguments. She didn't even stop to ask, what just happened? No. She ran. Down the hallway, past the dining table where she once spilled her birthday cake, out the mansion door, barefoot and breathless. She didn't even look back, not once, because some part of her already knew there was nothing left to look back at. The next morning, the city of Honkjirk bled red with sorrow, not because of a festival, not because of firecrackers, but because of the horrifying news that spread like wildfire, the tragedy that struck Richard Coleman's mansion. It was on every news channel, every newspaper. Even the street gossipers were reporting like professional journalists. They killed everyone, the headlines screamed. Everyone. The maids, the chefs, the gate man who always smiled at strangers, the bodyguards who looked like mini-tanks, all shot, all gone, just like that. But there was one shocking detail. Geraldine's body wasn't found. Not in her royal bedroom, not in the bathroom, not in the backyard, nowhere. The city froze. Could she be alive? Was she kidnapped? Did she escape? No one had answers. The police released a public announcement. They wanted help. If you see Geraldine Coleman or have any information about her whereabouts, please report to the nearest police station, the statement said. Or contact Mr. Jackie, the chairman of her father's company. Oh, and there was one tiny detail that made even broke men suddenly develop sharp eyes. A reward of 5 million naira for just one clue. At Geraldine's school, the pupils cried as if they had lost a sister. Teachers couldn't concentrate. Even the strict maths teacher forgot how to calculate. Mothers across Honkjirk held their daughters tighter that day. Some wailed, some prayed, some cursed the devils behind the killings. The Coleman Foundation, the family's pride, released a black and white tribute video filled with piano music and teary words. They gave so much to this city, they said. We will remember them. But while the whole city mourned, somewhere, far from all the noise, Geraldine, the missing heiress, was hiding with nothing but a brown envelope, fear in her bones, and no idea what the future held. Somewhere, far from the noise, the sirens, the crying city, and the cameras, Geraldine Coleman sat alone, the missing heiress, the ghost the world was searching for. She had nothing with her except a brown envelope and her phone, which now felt heavier than a brick. Not because of weight, but because of the things it carried. The truth, the horror, the heartbreak. Her fingers trembled as she tapped on the screen. The videos were everywhere. Breaking news. Richard Coleman and entire household murdered. Exclusive. Bodies of maids, guards, and chefs at the crime scene. And there they were. Her father, on the floor, blood soaked into the carpet he once laughed on. Her mother, eyes closed, mouth slightly open, as if trying to speak one last word. The 6 maids who used to argue about whose jollof rice was better, gone. The 2 gatemen who always saluted like soldiers whenever she returned from school, silent forever. 5 guards, strong men, still wearing their guns around their necks like necklaces. But now, the weapons were useless. Their eyes frozen. Geraldine's heart shattered again and again. She cried. Not the cute kind of crying people post online for attention. No, she cried from her soul. Her eyes turned red. Her nose ran like a leaky tap. Her shirt was soaked with tears and pain. She wanted to scream, but no voice came out. Just gasps. Just pain. Then, strangely, she smiled. A small, broken, confused smile. As if her body was mocking her soul. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, stood up like a soldier, dusted her clothes, her once pink princess pajamas, now dirty and torn at the edges. Then she walked. No idea where to. No clue what would happen next. But one thing was sure, she was not going to stop. Not now. Not ever. And that was just the beginning. The beginning of a journey that had no map, no GPS, and definitely no happy signposts. Geraldine had walked for hours. Her legs ached. Her tiny feet, once pampered in shiny designer shoes, were now bare, dusty, and sore. She finally sat by the roadside like someone waiting for a miracle. Tears rolled down her face. Not the pretty kind, the kind that stung. She wiped her face, sniffed, and then reminded herself, "It's too early to give up. I haven't even started yet, so what am I quitting for?" She stood again, One step, then another, and then she saw it. A small roadside canteen with smoke dancing in the air and a sweet aroma that grabbed her nose like a magnet. Her stomach growled like a wild lion. She walked close and begged, "Please, can I have some food?" The woman behind the pot turned around and gave her that Nigerian-style laughter that meant, "You must be joking." "Yes, I have food," the woman said, wiping her hand on her apron. "But I don't give it out for free. My children are your age. Look at them, busy washing plates outside. You want food? Join them. Wash plates. Then you eat." Geraldine's ears nearly fell off. Wash plates? Me? This was a girl who never washed a spoon in her life. Even the maids in her house didn't wash plates. There were machines for that. But that was the old Geraldine. This was the new her. No more princess, no more heiress, just a little girl trying to survive. She nodded, quietly joined the children, picked up a sponge like it was a foreign object. As soon as the other kids saw her, one shouted, "She must be here for a plate of food." They all burst into laughter. One by one, they dropped their plates and walked off, leaving a mountain of dirty plates like they had planned a coup. "No free food here," one said, smirking. "You must work before our mommy gives you anything." Geraldine didn't argue. She washed. She scrubbed. Her soft fingers started to wrinkle. But she did it. A moment later, she sat down, shaking but proud, and finally got her plate of food. She dug in like someone fighting for her last breath. Until she heard it. Two customers beside her, eating and talking loudly. One man said, "I'm watching out for that billionaire's daughter. I swear if I find her, that 5 million reward is mine. No more poverty." The other laughed. "Leave that matter. Me, my wife, and our 5 children don't take am as our life assignment. Anything we take serious like that no day fail." Geraldine froze mid-bite. Her heart started pounding. Her spoon trembled. She looked at them, then looked at her food. Suddenly, it didn't taste the same. It was no longer safe. She dropped the spoon, quietly stood up, and ran. Ran from the food, ran from the voices, ran from the danger. Back to the streets, back to nowhere, because nowhere was safer than being found. Night came slowly, but darkness? Darkness came like a thief. Geraldine had nowhere to go. No roof, no bed, no pillow. Only her brown envelope and a heart full of fear. She walked until her legs gave up. Then she found an abandoned bus stop, dirty, cold, and crawling with strange people. Some slept there. Some just stared at her like she didn't belong, like they could smell her fear. She squeezed herself into a corner, hugging her knees, clutching the envelope like her life depended on it. Because it did. She tried to close her eyes, but the noise wouldn't let her. A man was shouting at a woman nearby, calling her a thief. Another woman was crying because her nylon of roasted corn was stolen. And not far from her, 2 boys were fighting over bread that had fallen into the gutter. Geraldine blinked back tears. This can't be my life, she thought. This has to be a nightmare. Then it got worse. A drunk man staggered close to her. He looked at her small body, smiled like the devil, and muttered, "Fresh meat. This one go sell well." Geraldine's heart almost stopped. She got up and ran like fire was chasing her. She didn't stop until she reached under a bridge. There were people there too. Dirty, smelly, some with red eyes like demons. Others curled up in corners, hugging torn sacks like blankets. She found a little space by a wall, sat, then laid down. It was cold. Her dress was thin. Her skin shivered. Her stomach made music. But her soul was tired. She couldn't cry anymore. Even her tears had packed up and left. Just when she was about to drift off, a loud scream pierced the night. Someone was being beaten nearby. She shut her eyes tighter. Don't hear it. Don't see it. Just sleep, Geraldine. Sleep. But sleep refused to come. She missed her room, her bed, her mom's warm voice, her dad's evening hug, the maid that used to sing while brushing her hair, the smell of baked cookies that came from their kitchen. Now, all she could smell was pee, smoke, and sadness. That night, Geraldine didn't sleep. She stayed awake, wide-eyed, watching the stars like they owed her answers. But they said nothing. Geraldine had finally drifted into a shallow sleep under the bridge, curled up like a helpless kitten. But the noise woke her. Not just any noise, an argument. They say Richard Coleman's empire is finished. Just like that. Eh? But how? A whole billionaire. His wife, his staff, everybody gone? I hear say dem never see the daughter. If I see that girl Anne, I go blow. 5 million no be beans. That sentence hit her like thunder. 5 million, her head felt like it would explode. Again, her stomach twisted. She stood up slowly, dusting her body like a ghost. Her heart was racing. These people weren't just talking, they were searching. Yep, and she was right there. She grabbed her envelope, walked slowly away, blending with the crowd, head low. Then she saw something. Something strange. A long, dark wig lying beside a pile of trash, just next to a broken wooden bench. Tangled, yes. Dirty, definitely. But something about it called her. She walked past it, paused, then turned back. Without thinking, she picked it up, shook it. Well, you're not exactly luxury, but you'll do, she whispered with a smirk. She slipped it on, tucking in her real hair underneath. It didn't fit perfectly, but it did something powerful. It made her feel invisible. To the world, she wasn't Geraldine Coleman anymore. She was just another forgotten child on the street. As she walked, she passed a cracked side mirror leaning against a dusty wall. She stopped, looked. The reflection stared back, a small girl with tired eyes, swollen lips, dirt on her cheeks, and now a new hair. Her hands went to the wig, adjusting it slightly. Then she smiled, a broken, shaky smile, but a smile all the same. The new me is coming for you all, she muttered under her breath, with a quiet laugh that carried more pain than joy. And with that, she turned and walked deeper into the city. No destination, just determination. Because she wasn't running anymore. She was hiding and plotting. 3 months had passed since Geraldine vanished into thin air, while the world assumed she was dead or lost. But far away in a luxurious penthouse, Mr. Emeralds, one of the biggest men in the city, was snoring like a tractor. His air conditioner was on full blast. His imported mattress hugged him like heaven. Life was sweet until his phone buzzed. Psst, psst. Who dares? He grunted, dragging the phone to his ear without opening his eyes. He answered in annoyance, his voice half asleep. Who are you to disturb my sleep, my expensive sleep? Then came the voice. Cold, flat, no emotion. Have you paid my 800 million into my account? Emeralds paused. The voice continued. If you don't do that now, consider yourself embarking on a journey to where I am. Then a name. My name is Richard Coleman. That name struck his brain like thunder. His eyes flew open. His heart nearly jumped out of his chest. He sat up sharply, sweating cold, suddenly wide awake as if someone poured iced water on his soul. No, no, no! Don't kill me! Please don't kill me, he screamed, gripping the phone with trembling hands. It wasn't me. Jackie was the one who pulled the trigger. I swear it wasn't me. I'll pay the money. I'll pay it now. Just spare my life. On the other end, the voice didn't reply immediately. Then suddenly, laughter. Loud, haunting laughter, like thunder from the grave. Do it fast. And the line went dead. Silence. Mr. Emerald sat frozen for several minutes, the phone still glued to his ear. He was no longer in his luxury suite. He was in panic headquarters. Richard's spirit, it's out for revenge, he whispered, his voice dry. He stood up shakily, walked straight to his laptop with legs like cooked noodles. I must do this transfer now. Now, he said, typing like a madman. His hands were shaking so badly, he mistyped his password 4 times. 800 million or 6 feet deep. Your choice, Emeralds, he muttered to himself. While Mr. Emeralds was pacing like a rat on hot coal in another part of the city, Mr. Hakim, one of the key men on Richard Coleman's board of directors, was snoring beside his wife, snoring in peace and eating turkey in his dream. Then, buzz! 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 His phone vibrated on the side table like it had been possessed. His wife, already irritated, tapped him gently. Hakim, your phone is ringing again. I've told you to always put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Why can't you just sleep like a normal man? Half asleep and grumbling, he didn't even check the caller ID. He just picked the call and pressed the phone to his ear. "Hello? Don't you know it's night? Are you mad?" he barked. Then came the voice. Flat, deep, cold, familiar. "Pay the full profit of the last contract we did into my personal account, or prepare to join me at the great beyond." The voice paused, then added, "My name is Richard Coleman." Hakeem froze. He sat up instantly like someone poured hot water on his back. His grip on the phone tightened. His forehead began to sweat bullets. "Please don't kill me," he stammered. "I will pay, but bit by bit. I don't have the full money again. I swear I didn't mean to pull the trigger into your wife's head. It was a mistake. She heard all our conversations, and I need to silence her. Please, please forgive me." The voice didn't show mercy. Instead, it laughed. That same haunting graveyard laughter that could freeze blood. Then it said, "Do it fast." Call ended. Silence. But by now, his wife was sitting upright on the bed like someone who just watched a horror movie in real life. She blinked. Her voice was sharp. "Hakeem, whose wife did you kill?" Hakeem didn't answer. He was already sweating like someone that ran 5 miles inside a microwave. His pajamas were wet, not from water, but from pure, undiluted fear. She asked again, calmer this time. "Honey, who did you say you shot?" That was it. Hakeem snapped. He turned to her and shouted, "Stop asking that question, woman. I need to pay 10 billion into someone's account now, and what I have isn't even up to 1 billion. That should be your concern, not dragging old gist." He jumped off the bed, ran to his laptop, and began the transfer with trembling fingers. His wife just sat there, mouth open, wondering if this was a dream or the beginning of a nightmare. But one thing was clear. Richard Coleman might be dead, but his revenge had just begun. Meanwhile, Geraldine was still fighting for her life, not with fists, but with hunger, with rejection, with pain. The kind of pain that comes when life drags you from a palace and dumps you on the street with nothing but a phone and a brown envelope. She had begged to work, not even for money, but for food. But many turned her away. Some even insulted her. "Go to school, little girl. You're too young to be working. We don't support child abuse here. Go home." Home? She didn't have one anymore. But she didn't stop. She kept moving, from street to street, from gate to gate, until finally, she found a small canteen, not in the outskirts this time. No, this was right inside the same city where she once rode past in tinted glass cars with escorts before and behind. Now she was here, not as Geraldine Coleman, the billionaire's only daughter, but as Geraldine, the cleaner girl. Her madam was kind, but tough. She gave Geraldine the mop, the broom, and an apron. And Geraldine mastered it. She cleaned, she swept, she served food, she washed the plates. And gradually, people began to notice her. The madam would smile and say, "That small girl? She's strong, she's fast, I love her." Even customers loved her. One said, "She's always calm, always neat. Who trained this one?" They didn't know. A mansion trained her. Now the street is refining her. Her madam gave her more trust and even allowed her to sleep on the bench inside the canteen at night. No mattress, no blanket, just the wooden bench. But Geraldine smiled, because to her it wasn't a bench, it was her palace of survival. She didn't cry anymore. She had stopped looking at people's faces. She now looked into their eyes, because that's where real truth hides. Geraldine had survived. And not just that, she was rising. Back at Richard Coleman's company, tension hung in the air like smoke from a burning mansion. It was time for the quarterly board of directors meeting, a tradition held once every 3 months. But this one wasn't like the others. The last time this board gathered was the same night Richard Coleman was murdered. A night that started with wine and laughter. Richard had invited his 3 most trusted directors, Emeralds, Hakeem, and Mr. Jackie, home for dinner. They toasted to another successful quarter. They laughed. They killed him. Now, the chairs at the long glass table were filled again, but this time, fear took the seat at the head of the table. Some directors looked calm, but others, especially the guilty, were dripping in sweat. In a corner of the room, Emeralds, Hakeem, and Jackie huddled together like scared children hiding from a shadow. "Did you know," Hakeem whispered, darting his eyes around, "that I got a call from Coleman last night?" Emerald slowly nodded, his voice shaking. "He told me to pay up all the money I owe him to his personal account." Jackie frowned, confused and defensive. "I missed 3 calls from his number. I even thought I mistakenly saved someone else's contact as Richard's. This is ridiculous. He's dead. I don't believe in all these ghost stories." But before he could finish, his phone buzzed. The screen showed it clearly. Richard Coleman, calling. His hands trembled. Emerald stepped back, whispering, "Pick it. Let's see if it's really him." Jackie hesitated, then placed the phone to his ear. "Hello, who is this?" he barked, trying to stay brave. But the voice that responded was cold and clear. "Jackie, be ready to join me if you don't pay every dime you received on my behalf from the Canada branch. My name is Richard Coleman." Jackie's face went pale. He clutched the phone tighter, his voice trembling. "Then what was the point of killing you?" "I did it so I won't pay you that money. Pulling out such a huge amount would destroy me. It'll crash my empire." Then silence. And then the same chilling laugh. "Do it fast." Jackie dropped the phone like it burned his hand. He looked at Emeralds and Hakeem. All 3 men stood frozen. The past was catching up with them, and it was wearing Richard Coleman's voice. The other directors, who had overheard whispers of "forgive me" and "don't kill me," began exchanging glances. One leaned toward another and whispered, "Did he just say I killed you because I don't want to pay?" The other nodded slowly. "Either it's a prank or we just entered a Nollywood script." Another muttered, "Nah, who invite Juju come meeting?" The room had turned into a graveyard of whispers. Just then, bang! The door to the boardroom swung open with such force that everyone jumped. Standing there, in the doorway, was a girl. Her face had streaks of sweat and dust, but her eyes, oh, her eyes, burned with purpose. Her posture was straight. Her presence was commanding. She wore clean but wrinkled pajamas, the kind you could tell had seen better days. On her head was a slightly tangled wig, not filthy, but clearly not designer. Yet, there was something royal in her walk, a strange glow of undeniable confidence. She took a few calm steps into the room. "Hello, directors," she said with a sharp smile. Her voice sliced through the silence like a hot knife through butter. "Did you miss my father?" All eyes widened. Emerald's lips trembled. Hakeem clutched his chest, blinking like a man who had just seen his nightmares walk into reality. Jackie reached for his water like he was about to baptize himself. "I am here to represent him." She paused, then smiled. "My name is Geraldine Coleman." Silence. You could hear a rat in Canada sneeze. Someone from the far end of the table whispered, "Jesus is Lord." Another director stood up and muttered, "Is it April Fool? But we're in August." One director gasped and dropped his pen. Another slowly started reciting Psalm 23 under his breath. "She was declared missing," someone whispered. "She looks different," another said, squinting. "But that jawline, definitely Coleman blood." Jackie gasped. "Impossible. She's supposed to be dead or missing or something." Emerald shook his head. "This girl no one die. She looks like she just walked out of survival reality show." But Geraldine walked straight to her father's empty chair at the head of the table, brushed off the dust, and sat down with pride. She adjusted her wig like it was a crown, crossed her legs, and said, "Let's begin the meeting. I have a list of names." She stared directly at Emeralds, then Hakeem, then Jackie. "That will be exiting this company permanently. And trust me, this will be your last meeting here." Geraldine leaned back in her father's chair with the calmness of a lioness in her den. She coughed deliberately, loud and dramatic. Then she clapped twice, slow and sharp. "Mr. Jackie." Her voice was soft, but every syllable stung like acid. You're still stubborn, hmm? My father told you to pay that money into his account immediately, or join him. You of all people should know, my father never joked with his words. Jackie's eyes widened. Sweat dripped down his temple. She turned her attention sharply. And you, Mr. Hakim. She folded her arms, tapping her fingers with rhythm. You paid a part. Where's the balance? Don't tell me your network was down. Then her gaze landed on the last of the crooked trio. Mr. Emeralds, I must commend you. You tried. You paid 99.9%. But you see, my father didn't ask for most of it. He said all, not one kobo less. Then, like a flash of lightning, Mr. Jackie sprang to his feet, eyes wild like a cornered beast. Mr. Hakim followed, veins bulging. So you're the one pretending to be his ghost, Jackie roared. How dare you scare the life out of us? Hakim added. Jackie grabbed a bottle from the table and hurled it to the floor, shattering it like their last shred of sanity. Yes, we killed him. What will you do now? Huh, Hakim pointed at her viciously. You want to join your father? Consider it done. Just as they charged toward Geraldine, Mr. Emerald stepped between them and the rest of the board. He turned to the directors with cold, deadly eyes. Let me warn all of you, if anyone dares to make a call or utter a word, consider yourself dead. The board froze. One director clutched his phone tightly. Another discreetly pushed his chair back inch by inch. Then, clap! Geraldine clapped twice. Her smile returned, but this time it was laced with victory. Too late, she said smoothly. I own this moment. The doors swung open with a bang. 6 armed policemen marched in like a storm. Helmets, boots, guns. Nobody moved. Chaos erupted. Jackie tried to run. A taser hit him first. He dropped like a sack of betrayal. Hakim stuttered an incantation, trying to explain, She's not. Her father is. Ghosts? Ah! Emeralds tried to play innocent. Gentlemen, I was only... Save it for court, one officer snapped, yanking his hands behind him. As the cuffs clicked shut, Geraldine stood up and walked around the table with a graceful strut. Her wig still slightly tilted, pajamas still wrinkled, but her aura? Unshakable. She stopped in front of them and said, You thought you buried my father, but you buried yourselves. Game over. 2 weeks later, the courtroom was packed. The air was thick with suspense. Judges, lawyers, press, and spectators sat on the edge of their seats as Geraldine Coleman, daughter of the late billionaire Richard Coleman, took the witness stand. She stood tall, composed, but burning with quiet fire. Her voice rang through the courtroom, calm yet filled with conviction. 6 months ago, after the second-to-last board of directors meeting my father attended, there was a heated exchange between him and the 3 men he trusted the most. She turned and looked directly at Mr. Jackie, Mr. Hakim, and Mr. Emeralds. They shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had withheld large sums of money that rightfully belonged to the company. My parents discovered it and were devastated. She paused, the courtroom silent. That evening, I found them sitting in the living room, not speaking, just staring into space, like statues carved from pain. She swallowed hard. I asked if the maid should bring them wine. My father said no, and instead, he asked me to sit. She reached into her bag and pulled out a brown envelope. He handed me this. Inside were all the original documents, proof of his ownerships, details of the unremitted funds, and a flash drive. That flash drive contained secret recordings of their threats to him. They told him to back off or face the consequences. There was a gasp from the crowd. A few people wiped their eyes. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." The judge banged his gavel. Order in the court. Miss Coleman, please continue. Geraldine nodded. The night of the final meeting, the night my father was murdered, they came again for dinner, just like always. I was already asleep, but I woke up with a terrible stomachache. She paused, her hands tightening slightly around the stand. Then I heard raised voices from the study. They were arguing again, and then my phone buzzed. Her voice dropped, trembling just a little. It was a message from my dad. He wrote, "If your mother and I don't come out of this study room alive, please make sure you stay alive for us. Run with that brown envelope." Another message followed. It was my mom. She sent me a voice recording of the entire argument. People were now crying openly. The judge took off his glasses and wiped his eyes before motioning for her to proceed. I ran. I didn't look back. I became a ghost. No name, no family, no food, no bed. But I swore one thing: I would win. She pointed to a quiet young man standing at the back. "That's Henry, my best friend and my age mate. He helped me survive. I became a cleaner in a local canteen while he worked as a mechanic beside the canteen." She chuckled slightly. "We didn't have money, but we had ideas." He came up with the plan. He wrapped a towel around his face to make his voice sound deeper, like a ghost, and called each of them one by one. She pulled out a second flash drive. Every phone call, every threat, every confession, every lie, they're all recorded, right here. The bailiff stepped forward to collect the evidence. The three directors sat frozen, their faces pale. Geraldine looked directly at them, her voice now fierce and unshakable. "You killed my parents because they stood for truth. You hunted me because you thought I was weak. But I survived, and I brought your lies into the light." The courtroom erupted with claps, gasps, and the thunder of justice closing in. Then the judge raised his hand. Bang! The gavel struck. "Order in the court," he said firmly, then turned to Geraldine with a curious look. "Miss Coleman," the judge began, "you were born into wealth, raised as a billionaire's daughter. You've never known hunger, pain, or survival. So tell me, how did you pull this off? How did you do what even your father was afraid to start, and in just 3 months?" A brief silence filled the room. Then Geraldine laughed, softly, sincerely. Not out of mockery, but from a place of truth. "Your Honor," she said with a glint in her eyes, "I'm a YouTube fan." The crowd looked puzzled. "There's a channel I follow religiously, Tales by Audrey Mobilaji." Whispers floated through the court. "A few days before the night my life changed forever, I watched a tale on her channel. The title was Little Orphan Walked Barefoot for 100 Days After Her Stepmother Threw Her Out at Midnight." Her voice cracked a little, but she held steady. "I cried that night. I cried hard. I cried not just for that little girl, but because her pain felt so real. But what I didn't realize was that the tale was doing something inside me. It was planting something." She paused and placed her hand over her chest. "Strength, grit, hope. That story gave me the courage to run when I needed to sleep under bridges, to beg for leftover food, to pretend, to plan, and to fight." Her voice grew stronger. "If that little orphan could walk barefoot for 100 days, survive her stepmother's wickedness, and still rescue her father, then I told myself, I can do the same." She took a deep breath. "That tale became my inner strength, my bedrock, my hope." The courtroom went silent. The judge slowly nodded, visibly moved. "Wow, this is unlike anything I've seen or heard before," he said softly. Then, without warning, the courtroom erupted again. Clapping, whistles, cheers. Tears ran down cheeks, not out of sorrow, but out of awe. Geraldine wasn't just a survivor. She was a warrior born in the fire of another's story. And in that moment, her victory didn't just belong to her. It belonged to everyone who had ever been broken, but refused to stay down. The verdict. The courtroom was so quiet, one could hear hearts pounding. The judge, his face grim, adjusted his robe and leaned forward. His voice, though calm, sent chills down every spine. "After careful deliberation, and in view of the overwhelming evidence, this court finds Mr. Jackie, Mr. Hakeem, and Mr. Emeralds guilty on multiple counts of first-degree murder, corporate embezzlement, criminal conspiracy, and betrayal of trust." A wave of murmurs and gasps surged through the room. The judge raised his gavel, and the next words dropped like hammers of justice. "For the murder of Mr. and Mrs. Coleman, this court hereby sentences the three of you to death by hanging." Shock tore through the room like lightning. The trio froze. Their jaws fell open. Mr. Jackie stuttered. Mr. Hakim collapsed into his chair, and Mr. Emeralds reached for something to hold, but found nothing. The judge didn't stop there. Furthermore, all assets, real estate, luxury vehicles, investments, and hidden funds are to be seized immediately and returned to the Coleman estate. Every stolen kobo must be paid into Mr. Coleman's official company account with interest. And effective immediately, Miss Geraldine Coleman is appointed as the rightful president and chief executive officer of Coleman Industries. The room erupted in thunderous applause. The press snapped photos like fireworks. Reporters screamed headlines into microphones. Geraldine stood slowly, her eyes welling with tears, but her spine was unshakable. She had won. Through fire, through fear, through hunger, through grief, she had won. As the cheering continued, Henry pushed his way to the front and ran straight into her arms. They hugged tightly like war survivors. "Thank you for everything," Geraldine whispered in his ear. "You did it," Henry whispered back with a grin. "But hey, that voice though," Geraldine smirked and nodded. "The ghost voice," she replied with a wink. They both burst into quiet laughter, remembering the fear they planted, the trick that turned the tide. And as they stood there in that courtroom, surrounded by applause and flashing cameras, Geraldine knew this wasn't just a win for her. It was a win for her parents, for truth, for justice, and for every girl who had once been underestimated. In that moment, Geraldine Coleman wasn't just a daughter seeking justice. She was a legend reborn, and the world would never forget. Geraldine's first speech as a month later. The Grand Hall of Coleman Industries headquarters was filled to capacity. Cameras flashed, employees stood with eager eyes, the media lined the back. Outside, thousands gathered, watching from giant screens. Standing at the center of the podium was Geraldine Coleman, radiant in her fitted navy blue power suit. Her curls framed her face like a crown. Beside her stood Henry, dashing in his sharp black suit, calm yet proud. Behind them, a banner read, "Coleman Empire Reborn." The air was thick with anticipation. Geraldine stepped forward and adjusted the microphone. She scanned the crowd, and her voice rang out clear and steady. "Good morning, everyone." The room hushed instantly. 7 months ago, I was just the daughter of a man who trusted too much. 4 months ago, I was homeless, running with nothing but a brown envelope, a flash drive, a phone, and the words of my father. Today, I stand before you not just as his daughter, but as the CEO of Coleman Industries, rebuilt by pain, purpose, and power. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Geraldine raised her hand gently, silencing the room. To the former board of directors, thank you for your service, but your tenure ends today. You're hereby relieved of your duties. If you believe in this vision, you're welcome to reapply. From now on, integrity is non-negotiable. Gasps echoed, followed by applause from employees and guests. To the staff, the foundation, our partners, and especially my classmates from Coleman's Children's School of Business. She turned, smiling at a group of students cheering with handmade placards. Our Queen of Strength, from cleaner to CEO. We believe because you did. Geraldine blinked back tears. You gave me the courage to keep going. And Henry, she turned to him, you stood beside me in my darkest days. Thank you for never letting go. Or turned me in for 5 million naira to Mr. Jackie, my father's best friend. Henry gave a subtle nod, lips trembling with pride. To the hopeless watching from afar, I was once you. I slept under bridges. I washed plates for coins, but I made it here. I watched a tale called Little Orphan Walked Barefoot for 100 days after Stepmother threw her out at midnight. That tale changed my life. That little girl inspired me. She walked barefoot to rescue her father. It took her 100 days. Geraldine paused, her voice thick with emotion. It took me 3 months to fight for justice for my parents. So friends, no matter how long it takes, don't ever give up. Not on yourself, not on your dreams, and please get involved in your family's matters, not for evil, but for good. The hall was silent, then suddenly filled with roaring applause, standing ovation, and tears. This is the new Coleman Empire, she finished, reborn in fire, forged in truth, powered by love. I love you all. She stepped back. Henry took her hand out. Behind them, the Coleman Foundation banner unfurled proudly. And at that moment, the world didn't just witness a baby CEO rise. They witnessed a movement begin. Hello, besties. Thank you so much for watching this powerful and emotional story. Before you go, here are 5 moral lessons we can all take from today's tale. Number 1, never give up. No matter how tough life gets, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Number 2, get involved in your family's affairs. Sometimes the battles we ignore are the ones that destroy us. Number 3, your background doesn't define your future. Even when Geraldine became homeless, she never stopped believing. Number 4, true strength is built in silence. Sometimes the quietest battles produce the loudest victories. Number 5, let pain fuel your purpose. Your greatest heartbreak can become your biggest testimony. Besties, don't just watch. Reflect, learn, and grow. Remember, every challenge in your life is shaping you for a comeback that will shock the world. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone who needs this message. Let's flood the comment section with your favorite lesson from this episode. And tell me, what would you advise if someone is in Geraldine's shoes? I love you all so much, and I appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you all, and never stop believing in yourself. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and stay connected. Bye, besties.